Jasmine Cole's hands trembled as she polished the crystal glasses in the dining room, each reflection showing a woman she barely recognized anymore. 3 years ago, she'd worn a white dress in a secret ceremony, her hand in Min Jun's as he promised her forever. Now she wore a black uniform and an apron, invisible to the man who'd once traced every curve of her body like a prayer. The amnesia had stolen him from her 6 months ago. The bullet that grazed his skull took more than memories. It took their life together. And his father, Kang Dae-jung, made sure she understood the new rules. Play the maid, or Min Jun dies. The rival family who'd ordered the hit was still hunting, and she was the perfect weakness to exploit if anyone knew the truth. So Jasmine served tea to the woman who sat in her place. Park Ji-hee, draped in Chanel and cruelty, touched Min Jun's arm with possessive fingers, while Jasmine stood 3 feet away, holding a silver tray, her wedding ring hidden on a chain beneath her uniform. Min Jun's amber eyes sometimes found her across rooms, confusion flickering in their depths. He'd pause mid-sentence, his jaw tightening, as if his body remembered what his mind couldn't. Those moments were agony and hope, twisted together. Tonight would shatter everything. Ji-hai had found the marriage certificate hidden in the library, and she was ready to destroy Jasmine in front of everyone. The Chicago wind howled against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Kang mansion, but inside, the dining room blazed with warm light and cold tension. Jasmine moved between the guests with practiced invisibility, refilling wine glasses and removing plates. 20 people sat at the table, family members, business associates, and the wolves who circled Min Jun's empire, waiting for weakness. She felt Ji-hai's eyes tracking her like a predator. The woman had been particularly vicious today, sending Jasmine back to the kitchen 4 times for trivial mistakes, her voice dripping with contempt each time. The help is so incompetent these days, Min Jun. Perhaps we need to make changes. Min Jun barely looked up from his phone, his jaw set in that familiar hard line. He'd been distant all week, locked in his study, surrounded by documents he couldn't remember creating. The amnesia had left gaps everywhere, business deals he didn't recall making, enemies he couldn't identify, and a persistent feeling that something crucial was missing. Jasmine, Ji-hai's voice cut through the dinner conversation. Bring more champagne. We're celebrating. Jasmine's stomach clenched. She returned with a chilled bottle, her hand steady despite the dread pooling in her chest. Ji-hai accepted it with a smile that had too many teeth. Actually, I have an announcement. Ji-hai stood, her chair scraping against marble. The room quieted. I discovered something fascinating today while organizing the library. She pulled a folded document from her clutch. It seems our dear Maid has been harboring quite the fantasy. The blood drained from Jasmine's face. No, not like this. This, Ji-hai waved the paper, is a marriage certificate, claiming that she, a common maid, is married to Min Jun. Her laugh was cruel and sharp. Can you imagine? The delusion? The room erupted. Gasps, whispers. Min Jun's head snapped up, his eyes finding Jasmine's for the first time all evening. Something flickered in those amber depths. Confusion, anger, something else she couldn't name. Kang Dae-jung stood abruptly at the head of the table. This is absurd. The girl is clearly mentally unstable. We'll have her removed immediately. No, Ji-hai's smile widened. I think we should address this properly. After all, she's been serving us for months with these delusions. She approached Jasmine, circling her like a shark. Did you forge this document, or are you simply that pathetic, fantasizing about a man so far above you? Jasmine's throat closed. She couldn't defend herself without signing Min Jun's death warrant. The rivals were watching, always watching. If they knew he'd married her, that she mattered to him, they'd use her to destroy him. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. Liar! Ji-hai hissed. Her hand shot out, grabbing the collar of Jasmine's uniform. You know exactly where it came from. You probably made it yourself, you pathetic, desperate. The sound of fabric tearing split the air. Ji-hai ripped Jasmine's uniform from collar to waist, buttons scattering across the marble floor like shrapnel. The black fabric hung in tatters, exposing Jasmine's bra and the chain around her neck, the chain holding her wedding ring. There, Ji-hai's voice dripped venom. That's where you belong. Stripped down to your true worth. Nothing. Jasmine stood frozen, arms crossed over her chest, tears burning behind her eyes. She wouldn't cry. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. But humiliation crashed over her in waves, drowning her dignity. The room was silent. Even the servers had stopped moving. Then Min Jun stood. The movement was slow, deliberate. His chair hit the floor behind him with a crash that made everyone flinch. His face had gone completely blank, that dangerous emptiness that used to terrify his enemies. His hands, resting on the table, trembled slightly. "Everyone out!" His voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. No one moved. "Out!" The roar exploded from him, and suddenly everyone was scrambling for the doors. Family members, associates, even his father hesitated only a second before retreating. Only Ji-hai remained, her confidence faltering. "Min-jun, I was just... You touched her." His words fell like ice. He moved around the table toward Jasmine, each step measured. When he reached her, he shrugged off his suit jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders, his hands lingering on the fabric. "You put your hands on her." Something was happening to his face. Pain. Recognition. His fingers found the chain around Jasmine's neck, pulling the ring free from beneath the jacket. The platinum band caught the light, engraved with their wedding date and a line in Hangul, "Yongwonhee Naijos, forever mine." Min-jun's breath caught. His thumb traced the engraving, and Jasmine watched the exact moment the dam broke. Memories crashed behind his eyes, fragments at first, then flooding. The art gallery where they met, their first kiss in the rain, the secret wedding in the courthouse, her laugh, her body beneath his, her name whispered like a prayer at 3 a.m. Jasmine. He said her name like he was remembering how to breathe. His hands came up to frame her face, and tears, she'd never seen him cry, tracked down his cheeks. "Oh God, Jasmine, what did they do to you? What did I—" "You didn't know," she whispered, her own tears finally breaking free. "You couldn't remember." "I should have known." His forehead pressed against hers, his body shaking. "My body knew. Every time I saw you, I felt I couldn't understand why it hurt so much to look at you." His thumb brushed across her lips. "Why I wanted to kill anyone who spoke to you roughly. Why I dreamed about you every night and woke up feeling like I'd lost something irreplaceable." Ji-hai's gasp reminded them they weren't alone. Min-jun's head turned slowly toward her, and Jasmine felt him transform. The soft, broken man against her became steel and fury. "You touched my wife," he said softly. "You humiliated her. You tore her clothes and paraded her pain in front of my family." "I didn't, I thought—" Ji-hai backed toward the door. "Get out of my house." His voice dropped to a lethal whisper. "If I ever see you again, if you ever speak her name, if you so much as breathe in her direction, I will forget every alliance and bury you and your family so deep, they'll never find the bodies." Ji-hee ran. Min-jun pulled Jasmine closer, his arms wrapping around her like he could shield her from what had already happened. "I'm sorry," he breathed into her hair. "I'm so sorry. Tell me everything. Tell me what they did to you while I couldn't remember. Tell me who I need to destroy." But before Jasmine could answer, the dining room doors burst open. Kang Daijung stood there, flanked by 6 armed men, his face a mask of cold fury. "Step away from the maid, Min-jun," his father commanded. "You're not thinking clearly. The head injury is healing," Min-jun interrupted, positioning Jasmine behind him. "And I remember enough. I remember you telling me she was just staff. I remember you insisting I consider Ji-hai. I remember—" His voice hardened. "You visiting me in the hospital right after I woke up. What did you tell me, father? What did you make me forget?" The old man's jaw tightened. "I did what was necessary to protect this family. Your little infatuation with her made us vulnerable. The Choi family has been circling, and your marriage to a black woman from the south side gave them ammunition. They could have destroyed us. So you used my amnesia to erase her." Min-jun's voice went deadly calm. "You made her pretend to be a servant. You let them humiliate her for 6 months. For the family," Daejung snapped. "She's not one of us. She'll never be one of us. This marriage was a mistake from the start." Min-jun's hand moved to the gun at his ankle. "Choose your next words very carefully, father, because she is my wife. She is mine. And I will burn this entire organization to the ground before I let anyone take her from me again." The armed men shifted nervously. This was the Min-jun they remembered, the one who'd built an empire on calculated violence and unwavering will. The amnesia had made him vulnerable, but he was back now, and he was done playing by anyone's rules but his own. The standoff lasted 3 heartbeats. Then Marcus Cole appeared in the doorway behind Daijung's men, his military training evident in the way he assessed and moved. Jasmine's brother had been watching from the shadows all night, waiting for the moment everything fell apart. "You might want to reconsider the armed escort, Mr. Kang," Marcus said quietly, his hand resting on his own concealed weapon. "My sisters suffered enough tonight. Dae-jung's face twisted with contempt. This is family business. You have no place. She's my family, Marcus cut him off. And I've been real patient these 6 months, watching you people treat her like garbage. But my patience just ran out. Minjun's eyes didn't leave his father. You have 10 seconds to leave this room. Take your men. We'll discuss this tomorrow. Right now I'm taking my wife upstairs, and anyone who tries to stop me dies where they stand. The old man's face went purple with rage, but he wasn't foolish. His son had always been the more dangerous Kang, even before the amnesia. With his memories returning, with that protective fury blazing in his eyes, he was a loaded weapon. This isn't over, Dae-jung promised coldly, then gestured for his men to stand down. They filed out and Marcus closed the doors behind them, taking up a guard position. Go, Marcus told his sister. I'll make sure no one disturbs you. Minjun scooped Jasmine into his arms without warning, cradling her against his chest. She felt his heart hammering beneath her cheek as he carried her through the mansion's corridors. Staff members pressed themselves against walls as they passed, eyes wide. They climbed the grand staircase to the private wing, his wing, where she hadn't been allowed since the amnesia. He shouldered open the double doors to the master suite and locked them behind him. The room was exactly as she remembered. Dark wood furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago skyline, the massive bed where they'd spent countless nights tangled in each other. Minjun set her down carefully, his hands trembling as they cupped her face. Let me see you, he whispered hoarsely. Let me see what they did. Jasmine's breath hitched as he gently pushed his jacket off her shoulders. The torn uniform fell away, leaving her in her bra and work pants exposed and vulnerable. But his eyes held no judgment, only anguish. His fingers traced the chain around her neck, following it down to where her wedding ring rested against her skin. You wore it every day, he said, wonder and pain mixing in his voice. Hidden, right here, against your heart. It was all I had left of you, she whispered. The only thing they couldn't take. His jaw clenched. Tell me. Everything. Don't spare me because you think it'll hurt. I need to know. So she told him. About waking up the day after his injury to find his father in the hospital room, making threats while Minjun slept. About the Choi family's ultimatum, leave or watch Minjun die from a complication. About the deal Dae-jung forced on her. Pretend to be staff, and they'd protect Minjun while his memories returned naturally. Break the charade, and both of them would pay the price. They moved all my things out that first week, Jasmine's voice broke. Packed up our life like it never existed. Your father told everyone I was a new hire, someone from a staffing agency. The other staff who knew the truth were encouraged to forget. How? Minjun's voice was dangerous. Money. Threats. I don't know. But no one acknowledged me. And you, her breath caught. You looked right through me, like I was furniture, like I was nothing. God! He pulled her against him, his face buried in her hair. Jasmine, I'm so sorry. If I had known... You couldn't know. They made sure of that. She pulled back to look at him. But sometimes, you'd look at me, and I could see you fighting it. Your body remembered even when your mind didn't. You'd get angry when anyone was rude to me. You'd watch me walk away like something was wrong. Once you asked my name, and when I told you, you said it felt familiar, like a song you couldn't quite remember. His thumb brushed away her tears. My body always knew you were mine. Even when they stole my memories, they couldn't steal that. He pressed his lips to her forehead, then her cheeks, then hovered over her mouth. Tell me I can kiss you. Tell me I haven't lost that right. You never lost it, she breathed. I'm yours. I've always been yours. The kiss was gentle at first, reverent, like he was relearning the shape of her mouth. Then something broke in both of them. 6 months of separation, humiliation, and longing erupting into desperate need. His hands tangled in her hair, careful of the natural curls he'd always loved. Her fingers fumbled with the buttons of his shirt, needing to feel his skin, needing proof this was real. Wait. He caught her hands, pressing them over his racing heart. I need to do this right. He swallowed hard. I need to see all of you. But more than that, I need you to know you're safe, that you're home, that no one will ever hurt you like that again. He guided her to the bed, that familiar king size with the soft grey sheets. Jasmine sat on the edge, while Minjun knelt in front of her, his hands gentle as he removed her shoes, then her torn uniform pants. When she was down to her underwear, he just looked at her, drinking in every curve, every inch of her deep brown skin. You're so beautiful, he whispered. How did I forget the most beautiful thing in my world? You didn't forget. She touched his face. You just couldn't remember. There's a difference. He stood, stripping off his shirt, and she saw the scar, new, raised, at his right temple where the bullet had grazed. Her fingers traced it gently, and she felt him shudder. "I thought I'd lost you," she confessed. "When they called me from the hospital, told me you'd been shot, I thought my world ended." "It almost did," he admitted. "The doctors said if the bullet had been an inch to the left, I'd be dead. As it was, I lost 6 months. 6 months of my life with you." His hands spanned her waist. "I can't get that time back, but I can make sure we never lose another moment." "Your father won't accept this," Jasmine said quietly. "He'll fight us, and the Choi family. Let them come." Minjun's voice went hard. "I remember now. I remember the attack. I remember seeing Lee Choi's face right before the shot. He thought he was eliminating me. Instead, he just gave me a reason to finish what we started." His eyes met hers. "I was already planning to dismantle their operation. That's why they came after me. And my father," his jaw tightened, "he used my amnesia to try to control me, to remake me into the son he wanted instead of the man I chose to be. He hates me," Jasmine whispered. "He'll never stop trying to separate us." "Then he'll fail repeatedly," Minjun said simply, "because I'm not giving you up. Not for him, not for the family, not for anyone." He pulled her to her feet, his hands sliding around to unhook her bra. "Tonight, I'm reclaiming my wife. Tomorrow, I'm reclaiming my empire. And anyone who stands between me and either will learn exactly why people fear the Kang family." He laid her back on the bed, covering her body with his, and for the first time in 6 months, Jasmine felt whole. His lips traced paths down her neck, across her collarbone, mapping the territory his mind had forgotten, but his body clearly remembered. When he reached the swell of her breasts, he paused, looking up at her. "Tell me if I'm doing anything wrong," he murmured. "If anything's different, if anything hurts." "Nothing's different," she assured him, threading her fingers through his dark hair. "You loved me like this before. Slow, gentle, like I was precious." "You are precious." He kissed the valley between her breasts. "You're everything." The rest of the night blurred into sensation, his hands relearning every curve, his mouth finding every sensitive spot, their bodies reconnecting in the way only lovers who've been separated can. There was desperation and tenderness, passion and relief. When he finally entered her, they both gasped at the rightness of it, the coming home feeling of two pieces finally fitting back together. "I love you," he breathed against her lips as they moved together. "I'm sorry I forgot. I'm sorry I hurt you. But I love you, Jasmine. I never stopped, even when I didn't remember why." "I know," she pulled him closer, wrapping her legs around his waist. "I felt it every time you looked at me, every time you got angry on my behalf. You fought to remember me even when you didn't know what you were fighting for." They made love slowly, savoring each moment, rebuilding the connection that had been stripped away, and when they finally climaxed together, Jasmine crying his name and Minjun burying his face in her neck, it felt like redemption. Afterward, he held her close, their bodies tangled in the sheets, his hand possessively on her hip. "We leave tomorrow," he said quietly. "I'm moving us out of this mansion. Somewhere they can't reach us while I handle the Choi family and restructure the organization. Your father will see that as a betrayal," Jasmine warned. "My father betrayed me first, when he erased you from my life." Minjun's voice was cold. "He chose his pride over my happiness. Now he'll live with the consequences." A knock on the door made them both tense. "It's Marcus," came her brother's voice. "We've got a problem. Choi's men just breached the outer gates. They know Minjun's memories are back, and they're coming to finish what they started." Minjun was off the bed instantly, pulling on his pants. "How many?" "At least 15, maybe more. Your father's men are engaging, but—" Marcus's voice was grim. "I think some of them are letting Choi's people through. This might be an inside job." Jasmine's blood went cold. An inside job meant Daejung wasn't just trying to separate them. He was trying to eliminate Minjun entirely. Replace him with someone more controllable. Minjun grabbed his phone, firing off rapid texts to his most trusted associates. Then he opened a hidden panel in the wall, revealing an arsenal. He handed Jasmine a handgun. "Do you remember what I taught you?" She nodded. Before the amnesia, Minjun had insisted she learn to shoot, to fight, to protect herself. Now she understood why. "Stay behind me," he commanded, his voice shifting into the cold authority of the Mafia boss he'd been before the injury. "We're getting you out of here. Then I'm ending this war once and for all." As gunfire erupted somewhere on the lower floors, Jasmine realized the nightmare was far from over. They'd reclaimed their love. Now they had to fight to keep it alive. The private elevator at the back of Minjun's suite descended into the mansion's basement, a level most staff didn't know existed. Marcus had his gun drawn, watching their backs as Minjun guided Jasmine through the concrete corridors lined with wine racks that hid something far more dangerous than vintage bottles. "There's a tunnel," Minjun explained, his hand firm on Jasmine's lower back. "Runs underground to a safe house 3 blocks away. My grandfather built it during the early days when the family was establishing territory. Paranoid old bastard. But his paranoia's about to save our lives." Above them, gunfire echoed. Shouts in Korean and English bounced through the mansion's halls. Jasmine heard glass shattering, furniture being overturned. They were tearing through the place looking for Minjun. "Your father planned this," Marcus said grimly. "He knew Choi would come, probably sent word himself the moment you remembered." Minjun's jaw was granite. "He underestimated me. Again. He thinks I'm weakened because of the amnesia, that I've lost my edge." His smile was cold and dangerous. He's about to learn exactly how wrong he is. They reached the wine cellar's back wall. Minjun pressed a sequence on what looked like decorative molding, and a section of stone slid away, revealing a narrow passage. Emergency lights flickered on, illuminating a tunnel that disappeared into darkness. "You first," Minjun told Jasmine. "Marcus, stay with her. I'm going back." "Like hell," Jasmine grabbed his arm. "You're not going back into that war zone alone. I'm not leaving my men to die while I run." Minjun's voice was steel. "And I'm not letting Choi think he can attack my home and live to tell about it." He cupped her face, his thumb brushing her lips. "The safe house has everything you need, communication equipment, weapons, medical supplies. Marcus knows the protocols. I'll have backup there within the hour." "Minjun," she started, but he kissed her hard, pouring 6 months of longing and fear and fury into it. "Trust me," he whispered against her mouth. "I came back to you once already tonight. I'm not losing you again." He pressed something into her hand, a phone different from his regular one. "Secure line, only 3 people have the number. You, Marcus, and my most trusted lieutenant, Kim Jae-sung. If I don't contact you within 2 hours, call Jae-sung. He'll get you out of Chicago." "I'm not leaving without you," Jasmine said fiercely. His smile was soft despite the chaos above. "Then I better make sure I survive." One more kiss, quick and desperate. Then he was pushing them into the tunnel. "Go, now." Marcus pulled Jasmine forward as the wall sealed behind them. They ran through the passage, emergency lights creating pools of illumination in the darkness. Jasmine's heart hammered against her ribs, fear and adrenaline making her hands shake even as she gripped the gun Minjun had given her. "He'll be okay," Marcus said, though his voice was tight. "Your man's a survivor. You don't build an empire like his by being easy to kill." "His father wants him dead," Jasmine choked out. "His own father. His father wants control," Marcus corrected. "Big difference. He probably figures with Minjun gone, he can run things the old way again. But he didn't count on you being the thing that brought his son's memories back. Didn't count on Minjun choosing you over the family business." They emerged in the basement of what looked like an ordinary brownstone. Marcus cleared the space with military precision, then locked down the entrance. The safe house was surprisingly comfortable. Leather furniture, modern kitchen, reinforced walls that would stop anything short of a rocket launcher. "We wait," Marcus said, checking his weapon. "And we pray your husband's as good as his reputation." Back in the mansion, Minjun moved through the chaos like a ghost. He'd taken the service stairs up to the 2nd floor, avoiding the main battle in the grand foyer. Through gaps in the railing, he saw his father's men fighting Choi's soldiers, but the defense was half-hearted. They were letting them advance. Treachery ran deeper than he'd thought. He found Dae-jung in the library, calmly pouring whiskey while his empire burned around him. The old man didn't even flinch when Minjun appeared in the doorway, gun drawn. "Ah," Dae-jung swirled his drink. "I wondered if you'd run or fight. Should have known you'd be stupid enough to stay." "You called them." Minjun's voice was dead calm. "You told Choi, I remembered. You ordered your own men to stand down and let him slaughter me." "I ordered them to allow a natural resolution to an ongoing problem," Dae-jung corrected. "You've become a liability, son. That woman has made you weak. Sentimental. You married beneath you, shamed this family, and now you're ready to throw away alliances that took decades to build. All for what? A piece of—" The gunshot was deafening in the library. Dae-jung's whiskey glass exploded in his hand, alcohol and glass shards spraying his expensive suit. Minjun's gun hadn't wavered. "Finish that sentence," Minjun said softly, "and the next bullet goes between your eyes. I don't care that you're my father. Touch my wife, speak about her, even think her name, and I'll end you." Dae-jung's mask cracked, showing the rage beneath. You'd kill your own father for her. I'd kill anyone for her, Min-jun stated simply. The question is, why are you so willing to kill your own son for pride? Because you're destroying everything I built, Dae-jung roared. This organization was supposed to be pure, powerful, feared. Instead, you brought in a black girl from the ghetto, flaunted her in front of our allies, made us look weak and desperate. I made us look human, Min-jun corrected coldly. I fell in love. I got married. I chose happiness over your twisted version of honor. He stepped closer, gun still trained on his father's chest. And that's what you couldn't stand. That I chose something other than your approval. Footsteps pounded in the hallway. Lee Choi appeared with 6 armed men, their weapons immediately training on Min-jun. The Choi family boss was in his 50s, scarred and cruel, his smile showing too many gold teeth. Kang Min-jun, Choi said in Korean. The prodigal son, we thought the bullet would finish you. Clearly we need to try again. Clearly you're dumber than I remember, Min-jun replied in the same language, not lowering his gun despite being outnumbered. Walking into my house. Again? Did the first attempt teach you nothing? The first attempt taught me that your father's loyalty is for sale, Choi glanced at Dae-jung, and that you're distracted by pussy, makes you predictable. Min-jun's finger tightened on the trigger, but before anyone could fire, the library's windows exploded inward. Smoke grenades hit the floor, flooding the room with thick grey clouds. Gunfire erupted, not from Choi's men, but from outside. Return fire forced everyone to dive for cover. Through the smoke, Kim Jae-sung appeared like an avenging angel, flanked by a dozen of Min-jun's most loyal soldiers. They'd been waiting for Min-jun's signal. A text sent the moment he'd left Jasmine in the tunnel. Boss? Jae-sung tossed Min-jun a submachine gun. Thought you might need backup. The firefight was brief and brutal. Choi's men were good, but Min-jun's were better, and they were fighting on home territory. Within minutes, 4 of Choi's soldiers were dead, 2 wounded, and Choi himself was on his knees, Jae-sung's gun pressed to his temple. Dae-jung had tried to run and made it as far as the hallway before another of Min-jun's men stopped him. Now father and enemy knelt side by side while Min-jun stood over them, his white shirt, still unbuttoned 4 buttons down, splattered with gunpowder residue and someone else's blood. Here's what's going to happen, Min-jun said quietly, the dragon tattoo on his neck seeming to writhe in the smoke-filtered light. Choi, you're going to call off every soldier, every assassin, every 2-bit criminal you've sent after me. You're going to withdraw from the territories you tried to take during my absence, and you're going to pay reparations for the attack on my home. And if I refuse? Choi spat blood. Min-jun smiled, cold and terrifying. Then I release the evidence I've been gathering for the past year about your human trafficking operations, not to rival families, to the FBI. Let's see how long you last in federal prison. Choi's face went white. You wouldn't. That's not how we handle things. I don't care how we handle things anymore. Min-jun crouched down to eye level. You shot me. You tried to take my empire. Worse, you thought you could do it while I was vulnerable. That's not just bad business. That's personal. And I take personal very seriously. He stood, gesturing to Jae-sung. Get him out of here. Make sure he understands the terms. If I hear he's even looked at our territory wrong, send me pieces of him until there's nothing left to send. As they dragged Choi away, Min-jun turned to his father. The old man looked smaller somehow, diminished by his own betrayal. I loved you, Min-jun said quietly. For years, I tried to be the son you wanted. I built this empire bigger than you ever dreamed. I was ruthless when necessary, merciful when strategic. I gave you everything. He shook his head. But it was never enough, because I wasn't you. I made my own choices. I fell in love with a woman you didn't approve of, and that was unforgivable to you. She's beneath you. Dae-jung's voice was hoarse. She'll ruin you. She saved me, Min-jun corrected. She gave me a reason to be more than just the monster you trained me to be, and you tried to erase her from my life. He pulled out his phone, pulling up a document. This is your retirement, effective immediately. You'll keep your property, your accounts, your reputation, but you're out of the organization. You no longer have authority, territory, or soldiers. You can't, Dae-jung started. I already did. Min-jun cut him off. The family council met an hour ago. Emergency session. Jae-sung presented evidence of your collaboration with Choi, your plan to have me killed. They voted unanimously to remove you. He leaned close. You should be grateful I'm giving you anything at all. If it was up to me, you'd join Choi in whatever hell I'm sending him to. But Jasmine, my wife, the woman you tried to destroy, she asked me not to kill you. Said you're still my father, that I'd regret it. He straightened. So you get to live, but you don't get to be part of our lives. You don't get to see your future grandchildren. You don't get to call yourself my father anymore. You're just a bitter old man who chose pride over love and lost everything that mattered. Dae-jung looked up at him, and for the first time, Min-jun saw fear in his father's eyes. You'll regret this. That girl will leave you. They always do. Then I'll have loved and lost, Min-jun said simply, but at least I'll have lived, which is more than you can say. He gestured to the guards. Get him out. Make sure he's on a plane to Korea by morning. And spread the word. Anyone who harms him answers to me. He's exiled, not executed. That's my gift to the man who raised me. It's more than he deserves. As they escorted Dae-jung away, Jae-sung approached, his expression carefully neutral. The mansion's secure, boss. We lost 3 men, 6 wounded. Choi lost most of his assault team. Take care of our dead, Min-jun ordered. Full honors. Their families get 5 years' salary and protection. The wounded get the best medical care we can buy. He looked around the destroyed library, his favorite room now scarred with bullet holes and bloodstains. And get a cleaning crew. I want this place spotless by morning. You're staying? Jae-sung sounded surprised. No, Min-jun headed for the door. I'm going to my wife. But this is still my home. I'm not letting Choi or my father or anyone else drive me out. He paused at the doorway. Send word to all our allies and rivals. The period of weakness is over. Kang Min-jun remembers everything, and he's done playing nice. Jasmine was pacing the safe-house living room when the secure phone rang. She lunged for it, her heart in her throat. It's me, Min-jun's voice came through, slightly rough, but alive. It's over. I'm coming to you. She sagged against the counter, relief making her legs weak. You're okay? You're really okay? Few scratches, nothing serious. Choi's neutralized. My father's handled. His voice softened. I'm sorry I took so long. There was cleanup to manage. I don't care, Jasmine breathed. Just get here, please. 5 minutes, he promised. And Jasmine, I love you. I'm never letting anyone separate us again. When he walked through the safe house door 10 minutes later, bloodied but whole, Jasmine threw herself into his arms. He caught her easily, holding her like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to earth. We won, he whispered into her hair. It's over. We won. But as Marcus watched them from across the room, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Min-jun had made powerful enemies tonight, and winning the battle didn't always mean winning the war. 3 weeks later, Jasmine stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of their new penthouse in downtown Chicago, watching the sun set over Lake Michigan. The space was modern, sleek, with none of the heavy history of the Kang mansion. It was theirs, a fresh start. Min-jun's arms wrapped around her waist from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. What are you thinking about? He murmured. How different everything is, she admitted. 3 weeks ago I was serving tea and pretending not to know you. Now I'm standing in our home wearing your ring on my finger where everyone can see it, and you've restructured your entire organization. Not restructured, he corrected, pressing a kiss to her neck. Revolutionized. Cleaned house. Half the old guard is gone. The ones who stood with my father, who looked the other way during the attack, who treated you like you were nothing. They're all out, replaced with people who understand loyalty, means something. Jasmine turned in his arms to face him. Min-jun looked different now, still dangerous, still powerful, but softer around the edges. The weight he'd been carrying for months had lifted. His memories were fully restored, the headaches that plagued him after the injury finally subsiding. Your father called again, she said quietly. Left another message begging you to reconsider. Min-jun's expression hardened. I told him the terms. He can accept exile in Seoul, or I can release the evidence of his collusion with Choi to the entire underworld. Those are his only options. He's your father, Jasmine pressed. I know what he did was unforgivable, but he tried to erase you from my life. Min-jun cut her off, his voice tight. He used my amnesia as an opportunity to reset everything to his liking. He made you serve him tea. He let Ji-hai humiliate you. He called in an assassination attempt on his own son, rather than accept that I chose my own path. His hands framed her face. There's no forgiveness for that. There's only consequence. Jasmine sighed, leaning into his touch. She understood his anger. God knows she'd felt it herself during those 6 months of hell, but she also knew the weight of cutting off family, the toll it took. I'm not saying forgive him, she clarified. I'm saying make sure you can live with your choice, because in 20 years when he's gone, you can't undo this. Min-jun was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled her closer, burying his face in her natural curls. "If I couldn't live without you for 6 months, how could I live a lifetime pretending his betrayal didn't happen?" He chose his pride over his son, over his daughter-in-law. He made his bed. The conversation was interrupted by Marcus entering from the kitchen, phone in hand. "We've got movement. Choi's consolidating what's left of his territory. Word is he's planning something." Min-jun's whole demeanor shifted, from gentle husband to calculating boss in a heartbeat. "What kind of something?" "Not sure yet," Marcus admitted. He'd become Min-jun's head of security after proving his loyalty during the mansion attack. "But he's been meeting with the Lee family and the Yangs. That's 3 of your biggest rivals at one table. Building a coalition." Min-jun's jaw tightened. "Smart. Can't take me alone, so band together." He released Jasmine reluctantly. "I need to make some calls. Jae-sung should know about this." As Min-jun moved to his study, Jasmine caught her brother's arm. "How bad is this?" Marcus's expression was grim. "Bad. 3 families united? That's a lot of soldiers, a lot of territory, a lot of resources. And your husband's got half the people he used to while he's rebuilding. If they hit him now while he's vulnerable, they could finish what they started," Jasmine finished, her stomach sinking. "That's the game," Marcus said, not unkindly. "This is what you signed up for when you married into this world. The violence doesn't stop just because you love each other." Jasmine knew he was right, but knowing it and living it were different things. She'd spent 6 months terrified of losing Min-jun to amnesia. Now she had to live with the reality that someone was always trying to kill him. Later that night, as Min-jun held strategy sessions with his remaining lieutenants in the penthouse's secure conference room, Jasmine found herself in the master bedroom, staring at her reflection. She'd changed since the attack, not just externally, though her style had shifted from the simple clothes of a maid back to the elegant dresses Min-jun loved seeing her in. But internally, she'd hardened. She'd learned what it really meant to be a mafia boss's wife. It meant living with constant danger. It meant watching your back and your husband's. It meant being strong enough to stand beside him in a world that wanted to tear them apart. A soft knock on the doorframe made her turn. Kim Jae-sung stood there, respectful as always. He was younger than Min-jun by a few years, loyal to the bone, and had been one of the few who'd questioned the new maid during Min-jun's amnesia. "Mrs. Kang." He bowed slightly. "May I speak with you?" "Of course." Jasmine gestured for him to enter. "And please call me Jasmine. Mrs. Kang makes me feel like I'm 70. His lips quirked in a small smile. "Old habits. The boss is very particular about respect when it comes to you." "What did you want to talk about?" Jae-sung hesitated, then pulled out a tablet. "I've been running security sweeps since we moved into the penthouse. Standard protocol. But I found something concerning." He pulled up surveillance footage from 3 days ago. "This is the parking garage. Watch the black sedan in the corner." Jasmine watched as a nondescript car sat motionless for hours. Then, when Min-jun's car pulled in, the sedan's occupants took photos. Lots of photos. "They're not even being subtle," Jae-sung said grimly. "They want us to know they're watching. It's a psychological tactic. Make you feel unsafe in your own home." "Does Min-jun know?" Jasmine asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. "Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first." Jae-sung's expression was serious. "Mrs. Kang, Jasmine, you need to consider additional security, personal bodyguards, armored vehicles, the works." "I'm not living in a cage," Jasmine said firmly. "I'm not suggesting you do," Jae-sung countered, "but your husband has enemies who know the fastest way to destroy him is through you. During his amnesia, they couldn't exploit that connection. Now they can. They will." His words settled like ice in her stomach. "What are you really saying?" "I'm saying that loving Min-jun made you a target," Jae-sung said bluntly. "And being black in a predominantly Asian underworld makes you an even bigger one. Some of these families, they're traditional, old world. They see your marriage as an insult, a weakness to exploit. They'll come after you to hurt him." Jasmine had known this intellectually, but hearing it stated so boldly made it real. "So what do you suggest?" "Training," Jae-sung said immediately. "Real training. You know how to shoot. Min-jun taught you before. But you need hand-to-hand combat, tactical awareness, escape protocols. I can arrange it." "And if I say no?" His expression was grave. "Then I'll be attending your funeral within 6 months, and Min-jun will burn the entire city down in revenge." "Is that what you want?" "That's manipulative," Jasmine said, but without heat, because he was right. "It's honest," Jae-sung corrected. "You're not just his wife. You're his weakness and his strength. The woman who brought his memories back. The woman he chose over his family. You matter in ways that make you incredibly dangerous to his enemies. He paused. Let me protect you properly. Not because you're weak, but because you're too important to lose. Jasmine took a deep breath. Okay. Set it up. But I do it my way, my schedule. I'm not becoming some kept princess in a tower. I wouldn't dream of it. Jae-sung bowed again. Min-jun would kill me if I tried to cage you. He fell in love with your strength, not despite it. After he left, Jasmine sank onto the bed, processing everything. This life, it was so much more complex than she'd imagined when she'd first fallen for Min-jun 4 years ago in that art gallery. She'd seen the sophisticated businessman, the cultured collector, the man who looked at her like she was the most fascinating thing in the room. She hadn't seen the violence, the betrayal, the constant threat, or maybe she had, and love had made her blind to it. Min-jun found her an hour later, exhausted from his strategy session. He collapsed beside her on the bed, pulling her close. Tell me something good, he murmured. Give me something beautiful to think about besides warfare and body counts. Jasmine rolled to face him, her hand tracing the line of his jaw. I love you, she said simply. I loved you when you forgot me. I loved you when you looked through me. I loved you when you remembered. And I'll love you through whatever comes next. His eyes shone with emotion. You're too good for me, too pure for this world I've dragged you into. I'm not pure, Jasmine corrected. I'm strong. There's a difference. And you didn't drag me anywhere. I chose you. I choose you every single day I wake up and choose you again. He kissed her then, deep and thorough, pouring everything he couldn't say into the connection between them. When they finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. Marry me again, he whispered. Jasmine blinked. We're already married. Not the way I want, Min-jun said. We got married in a courthouse with 2 witnesses because I was afraid my family would stop us. We never had a wedding, never had a celebration, never stood in front of everyone and declared our love. His hand cupped her face. I want to marry you properly. Big wedding. Your family, my friends, everyone who matters. I want to put a ring on your finger and tell the whole world that you're mine and I'm yours. Tears pricked Jasmine's eyes. In the middle of a gang war, you want to plan a wedding? Especially in the middle of a gang war. Min-jun's smile was fierce. I want them to know that they didn't break us, that we're stronger because of what we survived. And I want to celebrate you the way you deserve. Not hidden, not secret, but bold and public and proud. You're insane, Jasmine laughed through her tears. I'm in love, he corrected. So yes, basically the same thing. His expression turned serious. Will you marry me again? Let me do it right this time? Yes, Jasmine breathed. Yes, you ridiculous, romantic, dangerous man. I'll marry you again. They sealed it with a kiss that turned into more, their bodies reconnecting with the desperate urgency of 2 people who knew how fragile happiness could be. And as Min-jun made love to his wife, promising her forever with every touch, neither of them saw the shadows gathering outside. The war was coming, and this time there would be no mercy. The wedding was set for 2 months out, enough time to plan something beautiful, but not so long that they'd give their enemies time to sabotage it. Jasmine threw herself into preparations with an enthusiasm that surprised her. After months of misery, planning something joyful felt revolutionary, but the joy was tempered by reality. The coalition against Min-jun grew stronger. The Choi family, the Lees, the Yangs, and now the Parks, had united under a common goal: remove Kang Min-jun from power and divide his territory among themselves. They're calling it the 4 Dragons Alliance, Jae-sung reported during a morning briefing in the penthouse. Poetic and deadly. They've pooled resources, soldiers, weapons, political connections. We're looking at nearly 300 trained men ready to move against us. Min-jun studied the map spread across his desk, markers indicating territories and strongholds. We have 150, Jae-sung admitted. Maybe 160 if we call in favors. We're outnumbered 2 to 1. Then we'll be smarter, Min-jun said calmly. Superior numbers mean nothing if they can't coordinate properly. 4 families, 4 different leadership styles, 4 sets of priorities. That's not strength. That's a coalition held together by hatred. All we need to do is crack it. How? Marcus asked from his position by the window. Min-jun's smile was sharp. By giving them a bigger enemy. Each other. Over the next 3 weeks, Min-jun orchestrated a masterpiece of manipulation. False intelligence was leaked, suggesting the Choi family was planning to double-cross the alliance and seize control of all territories for themselves. Evidence was planted, doctored communications, fake meetings, witnesses paid to testify to betrayals that never happened. The alliance began to fracture. The Lee family confronted Choi. The Parks and Yangs started withholding resources. Suspicion and paranoia did what force couldn't. They turned the coalition against itself. But Choi wasn't stupid. He figured out the game eventually. And his response was brutal. Jasmine was leaving a dress fitting downtown. She'd found the perfect wedding gown, a stunning design that celebrated her curves and her heritage, when the attack came. Two black SUVs screeched to a halt on either side of her car. Men poured out, guns drawn. Her driver, one of Min-jun's men, reacted instantly. "Get down!" He threw the car into reverse, but bullets shattered the windshield. Jasmine screamed, diving into the footwell as the driver slumped over the wheel dead. The car rolled backward into a streetlight. Hands grabbed Jasmine, dragging her out. She fought, thank God for Jae-sung's training, landing a solid punch that broke someone's nose. But there were too many. A cloth pressed over her mouth and nose, reeking of chemicals, and darkness swallowed her. She woke in a warehouse, her head pounding. Her hands were zip-tied to a metal chair, her feet bound. The space was massive, empty except for crates and shadows, and Lee Choi standing in front of her with that gold-toothed smile. "Mrs. Kang," he said in accented English, "we finally meet properly. I must say you're much more beautiful up close. I can see why Min-jun was willing to destroy everything for you." "Go to hell," Jasmine spat. "Eventually," Choi chuckled. "But first, we're going to send your husband a message. You see, I've realized something. Destroying Min-jun's organization wasn't enough. I need to destroy him personally, break him so completely that he'll never recover. And you—" He traced a finger down her cheek and she jerked away. "You're the key to that. He'll kill you," Jasmine said with certainty. "Whatever you do to me, he'll make you pay for it 1,000 times over." "Oh, I'm counting on it." Choi's smile widened. "I want him to come. In fact, I'm going to send him your location, invite him to rescue his precious wife. And when he arrives, when he's desperate and reckless and focused only on saving you, my men will kill him. You'll watch him die, just like I watched my brother die in Min-jun's last territory war." Jasmine's blood ran cold. This wasn't just business. It was revenge. "Your brother was a traitor," Jasmine said, remembering the story Min-jun had told her once. "He was selling information to the Russians. Min-jun did what any boss would do." "My brother was ambitious," Choi corrected coldly, "and your husband executed him without trial, without honor. So now I'll return the favor. But I'll make it worse. He'll die knowing he failed to protect you, and you'll die knowing you're the reason he's dead." Before Jasmine could respond, her phone, which they'd left on her, she realized, so Min-jun could track it, rang. Choi answered, putting it on speaker. "Choi?" Min-jun's voice was deadly calm. "If you've hurt her, there's nowhere on earth you can hide." "She's unharmed," Choi assured him. "For now, but that depends entirely on you. I'm sending coordinates. Come alone. No soldiers, no backup, no tricks. Just you. Trade yourself for her, and I'll let her go." "Bullshit," Min-jun snarled. "You'll kill us both." "Probably," Choi admitted cheerfully. "But this way she has a chance. Don't come, and I'll take my time with her. Make it last days. Send you pieces." His voice dropped. "What's it going to be, Min-jun? Your life for hers? Isn't that what love is?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Send the coordinates. I'm coming." "No!" Jasmine screamed. "Don't! It's a trap!" "I know." Min-jun's voice was soft, just for her. "But I don't care. I'm not losing you. Not again." Then to Choi, "1 hour. If she has so much as a bruise, the deal's off and I burn your entire family to ash." The call ended. Choi smiled at Jasmine. True love. How touching, and how stupid. Min-jun arrived exactly 1 hour later, walking through the warehouse doors alone, hands visible, wearing the white shirt she loved with 4 buttons undone. His dragon tattoo seemed to pulse in the dim light. He looked calm, controlled, but Jasmine could see the rage burning beneath the surface. "Let her go," he said simply. "I'm here, that's what you wanted." "Not quite yet." Choi had 20 men surrounding the perimeter, all armed. "First, I want you to understand something. You took my brother, my blood, the only family I had left, so I'm going to take everything from you. Your empire, your future, your wife, and finally your life." "You're a poet," Min-jun said dryly. "Can we skip the monologue?" Choi's face twisted with rage. He nodded to one of his men, who moved toward Jasmine with a knife. "Maybe I'll start by marking her, something permanent, so even if by some miracle you survive, you'll always see the scars I left on her perfect skin." The man grabbed Jasmine's hair, yanking her head back, bringing the knife to her cheek. The warehouse exploded with gunfire, not from Choi's men, from above, from the catwalks, from behind the crates. Suddenly Jae-sung was there with 40 soldiers, emerging from positions they'd taken hours before Min-jun arrived. They'd tracked Jasmine's phone, yes, but they'd also used it to set their own trap. The firefight was brutal and quick. Choi's men, caught by surprise, didn't stand a chance. Within minutes, 15 were dead, the rest wounded or surrendering. Choi himself took a bullet to the shoulder, dropping to his knees. Min-jun crossed to Jasmine in 3 strides, cutting her bonds with a knife he'd had hidden at his ankle. She collapsed into his arms, shaking with adrenaline and relief. "I've got you," he murmured. "You're safe. I've got you." "You came," she choked out. "Even though you knew it was a trap." "Of course I came." He pulled back to look at her. "You're my wife, my world. There's nothing I wouldn't risk for you." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "Are you hurt? Did he touch you?" "I'm okay," Jasmine assured him. "Scared, but okay." Min-jun nodded, then stood, his entire demeanor shifting as he approached Choi. The wounded man looked up at him with hatred and fear mixed in equal measure. "You were right about one thing," Min-jun said quietly. "Love does make you stupid, makes you reckless, makes you willing to walk into obvious traps." He crouched down to Choi's level. "But it also makes you creative, desperate, willing to do absolutely anything to protect what's yours." He stood, pulling his gun. "You wanted revenge for your brother. I understand that. Family is important. But you made a mistake. You went after my wife. You touched her, threatened her, tried to use her to hurt me." His voice went cold. "That's not just business. That's personal. And I take personal very, very seriously." "Wait," Choi started, but the gunshot cut him off. Jasmine flinched, but didn't look away. This was her world now. This was the price of loving a man like Min-jun. Not just the romance and the passion, but the violence and the darkness. Min-jun holstered his gun and turned to Jae-sung. "Clean this up. Send word to the other families in the alliance. Choi's dead. His territory is now ours. Anyone who wants to continue his vendetta can meet the same fate, or they can accept the new reality and coexist peacefully." "And if they choose war?" Jae-sung asked. "Then we give them war," Min-jun said simply. "But we do it smart. No more being reactive. We go on the offensive. We don't wait for them to attack. We hit first, hit hard, and hit so completely that no one else even thinks about moving against us." He returned to Jasmine, scooping her into his arms. "I'm taking my wife home, handle the rest." In the car, a different one with bulletproof glass and armor plating, Jasmine finally let herself break. The adrenaline crashed, leaving her shaking and sobbing against Min-jun's chest. He held her through it all, one hand stroking her hair, the other pressed against her back. "I thought they were going to kill you," she choked out. "I thought I was going to watch you die." "Never," he promised fiercely. "I'm not leaving you, not for anything." He tilted her face up to his. "But we need to talk about security, about protocols, about—" "I know," Jasmine cut him off. "I know I need to be more careful. I know I can't go places alone anymore. I know the rules changed today." She took a shaky breath. "But I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to hide. If I do that, they win." "Then we find a middle ground," Min-jun said. "Better security, but still freedom. More training, but still independence. We adapt." His hand cupped her face. "I need you safe, Jasmine. Not just for my sake, but for yours. For our future. For the life we're building." "Our future," Jasmine repeated, and something in his tone made her look closer. "Min-jun, what aren't you telling me?" He was quiet for a long moment, then, "The wedding, I want to move it up, not 2 months from now, 2 weeks." 2 weeks? Jasmine blinked. "That's not enough time to—" "I don't care about the details," he interrupted. "I care about standing in front of everyone and claiming you as mine. Officially, publicly, permanently." His eyes held hers. "Today reminded me how fragile life is, how quickly everything can be taken away. I don't want to wait anymore. I don't want to give the universe another chance to separate us." Jasmine thought about it. The logical part of her brain said it was too fast, too rushed. But her heart knew he was right. They'd already wasted 6 months. Why waste any more time? "Okay," she agreed. 2 weeks. We'll make it work. We'll make it perfect," Min-jun corrected. "Because you deserve perfect. You deserve everything." They spent the rest of the ride in silence, holding each other, grateful for survival, planning for the future. And when they got home, Min-jun made love to her, with a tenderness that brought tears to her eyes, every touch a promise, every kiss a vow. They'd survived, they'd won, and in 2 weeks, they'd celebrate it properly. The next morning, Jasmine woke to find Min-jun already dressed, standing at the window overlooking the city. She padded over to him, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind. "Couldn't sleep," she murmured. "Too much to think about," he admitted. "The Choi situation is handled, but the other families are still out there. The Parks, the Lees, the Yangs. They're watching, waiting to see if we're weak. So show them we're not," Jasmine said simply. "You said it yourself. Go on the offensive. Hit first. Be so strong, so unified, that they'd rather work with you than against you." He turned in her arms, a smile playing at his lips. "When did you get so strategic?" "I've been paying attention," she said. "Learning. This is my world now, too. Your enemies are my enemies. Your battles are my battles. I'm not just standing beside you. I'm fighting with you." Pride shone in his eyes. "You're incredible, you know that?" "I'm a survivor," she corrected, "and I'm your wife, which means I'm exactly as strong as I need to be." The wedding planning kicked into overdrive. With only 2 weeks, they had to move fast. But Jasmine found she didn't care about the traditional stress. She had her dress, she had her man. Everything else was just details. Marcus walked her through the venue options. They chose a historic estate outside Chicago, beautiful and easily secured. Jae-sung handled security protocols, turning the wedding into a fortress. Min-jun's remaining family members were notified, though many declined to attend. His father's betrayal had fractured the family in ways that would take years to heal, but Jasmine's family came through. Her mother, her aunts, her cousins, they rallied around her, helping with details, bringing joy and laughter back into her life. They treated Min-jun with cautious respect, won over by his obvious devotion to Jasmine, but wary of the dangerous world he inhabited. "You sure about this, baby girl?" her mother asked one evening during a fitting. "It's not too late to walk away." "I'm sure, Mama," Jasmine said softly. "I know it's complicated, I know it's dangerous, but I love him and he loves me. That's worth fighting for." Her mother studied her, then nodded slowly. "You're stronger than I ever was at your age. Your daddy, God rest him, he'd be proud of the woman you've become. Scared for you, but proud." The day before the wedding, the remaining families of the Four Dragons Alliance requested a meeting. Min-jun agreed on neutral ground, with heavy security on both sides. Jasmine insisted on attending. "They tried to kill me," she said when Min-jun protested. "I deserve to face them." So they went together, Min-jun in a perfectly tailored suit, Jasmine in an elegant dress that clung to her curves, wearing her wedding ring openly for the first time. They looked like power, like unity, like a force that couldn't be broken. The meeting was tense. The Lee, Park and Yang family heads sat across from them, their expressions ranging from hostile to calculating. "Choi's death changes things," Lee Sung-min said carefully. "He was the driving force behind the alliance. Without him, you're left with a choice," Min-jun finished. "Continue a war you can't win, or accept peace and prosperity." He leaned forward. "I'm not my father. I don't rule through fear alone. I rule through strength, yes, but also through mutual benefit. Work with me and you'll find I'm a generous ally. Work against me," his voice hardened, "and you'll find I'm a ruthless enemy. Choi learned that lesson. I'd prefer you didn't have to." "And her?" Yang Jin-ho gestured to Jasmine with barely concealed distaste. "Your wife? She's a liability, a weakness." Min-jun's expression went ice cold. "She's my strength. She's the reason I'm stronger now than I've ever been. And anyone who touches her, threatens her, or so much as looks at her wrong will suffer consequences that make Choi's death look merciful." He stood, pulling Jasmine to her feet beside him. "Gentlemen, you have 24 hours to decide. Peace or war. Choose wisely." They left without waiting for a response, Min-jun's hand firm on Jasmine's lower back, his presence radiating protective fury. "That was intense," Jasmine said once they were in the car. "That was necessary," Min-jun corrected. "They needed to see us united, needed to understand that you're not a weakness to exploit. You're a line they don't cross. Ever." That night, as they lay in bed, Jasmine traced the dragon tattoo on Min-jun's neck. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "tomorrow, we do this for real. Tomorrow I marry the love of my life," he corrected, catching her hand and kissing her palm. "Tomorrow I stand in front of everyone and promise you forever. Again. And this time, everyone will know. No secrets, no hiding. Just us. Just us, Jasmine echoed. I like the sound of that. They made love slowly, savoring each other, building towards something beautiful. And when they finally fell asleep, wrapped in each other's arms, they dreamed of the future, of a life built on love and strength, of a marriage forged in fire and tempered by survival. Tomorrow they'd celebrate what they'd fought so hard to keep, and the whole world would watch them rise. The wedding was spectacular. The historic estate glowed with thousands of lights, transforming the grounds into something magical. 300 guests filled the space. Minjun's loyal associates, Jasmine's family, friends from their previous life, and even a few rival families who'd chosen peace over war. Jasmine walked down the aisle on Marcus's arm, her natural curls crowned with flowers, her dress a masterpiece that celebrated her body and her heritage. And at the end of the aisle stood Minjun, devastatingly handsome in a custom black tuxedo, his eyes shining with tears as he watched her approach. The ceremony was a blend of cultures, Korean traditions, honoring his heritage, African-American customs celebrating hers. They exchanged vows in both English and Korean, promising forever in 2 languages. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Minjun pulled Jasmine into a kiss that was equal parts tender and possessive, claiming her in front of everyone. The reception was joyous. They danced their first dance to Etta James, Minjun whispering promises in her ear as they swayed together. Jasmine's family embraced him, won over completely by his obvious adoration. Jae-sung gave a toast that was both heartfelt and strategic, sending a message to everyone present. The Kang family was stronger than ever. As the night wound down, Minjun pulled Jasmine aside to a quiet terrace overlooking the grounds. I have something for you, he said, pulling out a velvet box. Inside was a necklace, a platinum chain with a pendant that took her breath away. It was a dragon and a phoenix intertwined, rendered in exquisite detail, surrounded by diamonds. In Korean mythology, Minjun explained as he fastened it around her neck, the dragon represents power and protection. The phoenix represents rebirth and grace. Together, they're unstoppable. His hands lingered on her shoulders. That's us. We died. Our life, our memories, our connection. And we were reborn. Stronger, fiercer, unbreakable. Jasmine turned to face him, tears streaming down her face. I love you so much it scares me sometimes. Don't be scared, he murmured, wiping her tears away. Be brave, be bold, be exactly who you are, and I'll be right beside you, every step of the way. As fireworks exploded over the estate, Minjun's surprise gift, Jasmine looked around at everything they'd built. Their love had survived amnesia, betrayal, violence, and hate. It had endured when everything tried to tear them apart. And now, standing in the light of the fireworks, surrounded by people who loved them, officially married in every way that mattered, Jasmine knew something with absolute certainty. They'd won. Not just against their enemies, but against fate itself. They'd fought for their love and they'd won, and nothing would ever separate them again. Minjun pulled her close, his lips finding hers as the crowd cheered and the fireworks painted the sky with color. You belong to me, he whispered against her mouth, echoing the words from the night everything changed. And you belong to me, Jasmine whispered back. Forever. Forever, he agreed. Starting now. 6 months later, Jasmine stood in the penthouse, her hand resting on her barely there baby bump, watching the sun set over Chicago. The city that had witnessed their pain now witnessed their joy. The families who'd opposed them had either made peace or been dismantled. The organization was stronger, more prosperous, more unified than ever, and Kang Dae-jung, living in exile in Seoul, had missed everything. The wedding, the peace, the announcement that he would be a grandfather. He'd chosen pride over love, and now he lived with the emptiness. Minjun wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her stomach. How are you feeling? Perfect. Jasmine leaned back against him. Tired, but perfect. Boy or girl, he asked, not for the first time. Doesn't matter, she said, also not for the first time. Healthy, that's all that matters. Healthy and loved, Minjun corrected. Loved more than any child has ever been loved. Jasmine turned in his arms, her hands framing his face. We made it. Through everything, we made it. We did, he agreed, and we'll keep making it. Every day, every challenge, together. As they kissed, surrounded by the evidence of their survival and success, Jasmine knew their story was far from over. There would be more challenges, more enemies, more obstacles, but they'd face them all the same way they'd faced everything else. Together, unbreakable forever. The Mafia boss and his wife, the dragon and the phoenix, the love that refused to die. Their story would become legend,